Welcome back to the Unstuck movement. These are true testimonies of breakthrough. I am your host, Rob Z. Today we have the powerful Gordon Brodecki with us on the podcast. And Gordon, I'd like to jump in right off the bat with a powerful question. And in this episode, we're really going to be focusing on helping people with their longevity in their life, with making a positive lifestyle for themselves. And I'm curious for you, what is something that is overlooked, an overlooked aspect of fitness that everybody should prioritize for a healthier and longer life?
Number one thing, one of the most simplest things you could do, and that's sleep. People don't get enough sleep. We run off of caffeine and like amphetamines, right? I'm joking about the second one, but maybe some people do, right? Maybe some people do, but caffeine, I'm not saying caffeine is something I don't use myself. I love caffeine, man. It is fantastic. But the problem is what happens is you release a hormone. It attaches to your adenosine receptors, which blocks the caffeine does, right? And so it keeps building up more adenosine receptors. And so that's the hormone that makes you tired, right? And it also raises cortisol levels too. So if you're drinking caffeine later at night or later in the afternoon, if you ever listen to Dr. Andrew Huberman talk about this, and other people talked about this is not something brand new, but it's been around for a long time. I actually talk about it in my book a little bit called Unleash Shield to Be You, Change Your Mindset, Change Your Body. It's on Amazon. So you can, a little plug there, shameless plug. But I talk about that briefly. I don't want people to think that they shouldn't drink caffeine, but that if you're going to do it maybe earlier in the day, take caffeine breaks. But sleep, if you can get proper rest, the studies are showing about 6 to 8 hours. Some people can operate off of less. I need more. Hey, if you have to take a nap too. There's nothing wrong with naps. It doesn't make you lazy, by the way.
Yeah, 100%, man. Especially if you have little kids, you need to take a nap. I got a 3-month-old right now. Naps are necessary. So it's an essential part of the journey. So As we continue on here, right, man, before we go any further, I just want to welcome people to the platform. So this platform was created to help you find breakthroughs in your life by having examples of people who have found incredible breakthroughs in their lives, so you know it's possible for you also. We're sponsored by the Connected Leaders Academy. Check out connectedleadersacademy.com. And also, I want to remind you, if you are the expert at what you do and you want to be the go-to authority that people go to in your field, I want to help you with that. I want to help you create lasting impact in people's lives, and also get you connected to amazing people in your industry. If you want to learn more, join the waitlist at robzwentz.com for our Pro Podcaster Academy. Today we have Gordon with us, a fitness industry expert of over 25 years and founder of Garage Fitness, who empowers men to reach their highest potential in health and fitness. His book, Unleash the Ultimate You, has driven a widespread impact through speaking engagements and his WarriorsBFit community. You know, Gordon, I saw somebody was talking, I saw this a couple of weeks ago. They were talking about sleep, and they said that there's a very small percentage of people on earth who can really survive and function on 6 hours or less of sleep. It's like a very small percentage. Most of us need that 8 hours a night. Some people need 9 hours a night. Where do you land in that?
Probably somewhere in the 7-ish hours. I know if I'm not sleeping well, and there's a lot of things that can interrupt sleep, which I have experienced myself, like sleep apnea. I don't have sleep apnea total, but I definitely have like snore. So if that's a big thing that not enough people talk about. You're actually not getting into REM sleep that you should. And we could really dive into that, because there's things like certain drugs that stop you from getting the REM sleep. Alcohol does. And, what is it? What percentage of Americans or the world that drink alcohol? Like, it's a huge percentage. And probably on the daily, even if it's like one drink or two, you actually interrupt the way your circadian rhythm, getting into circadian rhythm. So if you're going to drink, they say drink earlier, but nobody drinks earlier. Everybody drinks it later on the end of the day, right? They have a drink. One of the reasons why I pretty much stopped it, right? I stopped it across the board. Maybe a special occasion, but I decided to just quit pretty much altogether. Even on the times I'm like, yeah, I might have one, I don't, and I'll make that decision. I've heard somebody say this about alcohol. If you want to drink, you go for a special occasion, and this is like few and far between. Are you going to drink? Or you're not going to drink. Either you say yes or no. Don't like I might just say yes or no, say no that day or yes. So, and try to really limit it as little as possible, along with other things, right? I know there's a big movement right now of people with marijuana, and everybody's like, "Oh, marijuana's great. Marijuana's this." But marijuana, because it works with your cannabinoid receptors, starts anything that you get like a high off of. There's going to be a return of the opposite reaction, and that actually they're showing studies that messes with REM. And I'm not saying don't use it if you need it for medical reasons. I know it's working now for some people and it really helps them out, but at the same time, don't abuse it.
Yeah, that's the big piece of that's the underarching theme there is, do not abuse the things that might actually be helping you. And it can be difficult, right? If something really works for you, it can be difficult not to lean on it as a crutch in your life. What'd you say?
Because it becomes fun, right? It's fun. It's releasing dopamine and serotonin, and you're feeling great. So you want more of that. But then what ends up happening, you start robbing yourself of these things. And then there's a pain, there's a threshold to get to. And then what happens because of that, you have to keep reaching that high until that's your norm. And when that's your norm, at your homeostasis, when you try to quit something like that, you go through a huge withdrawal. And that's why right now is a lot of depression and anxiety in people, because of things like that, things like heavy social media. Nothing's wrong with social media. It's the amount. It's just, it's really hard. And that's why you maybe want to do time blocks for that too. But we could dive into anything you want to dive into. I know you have another question, so shoot.
Well, going back to the sleeping thing, this is something that I became obsessed with a number of years ago. And I actually, I was wearing nose strips at night, and those helped to like my nose way up, but I was breathing through my mouth a lot. And I could tell when I woke up in the morning if I was breathing through my mouth and I was snoring. So I started putting a Band-Aid like this over my mouth. I did that for
a Band-Aid?
Probably I use a Band-Aid. Yeah, I just put a Band-Aid.
Use a Band-Aid. How's the Band-Aid hold? How do you get a Band-Aid to stay? Like, what do you mean?
It sticks. A Band-Aid would stick to your skin. It just stuck there.
Oh, the band. Okay. You just put a Band-Aid there. Okay.
I don't grow much facial hair, so I'm good. There's not
they have certain like tape for that. Did you know that?
Oh yeah. But the Band-Aids are cheaper. I bought a box of Band-Aids. But I did that for about a year and a half, and I don't do it anymore. But I don't breathe through my mouth anymore whenever I sleep. So even if my mouth is open, and I've had my wife test this, I'll breathe through my nose. So I trained myself to breathe through my nose, because there's so many health benefits to breathing through your nose, and it's very detrimental to your health to breathe through your mouth. And so I think I also got that from Andrew Huberman too. So shout out to Andrew Huberman.
100%.
But those are big things, man, because we deal with this kind of stuff all the time, and people go through their entire life not really addressing it or assessing it or doing anything about it, and it causes major health issues. So wait, so for you said you were almost like it felt like you were almost at a sleep apnea level. What did that change?
I had it. What do you call it? Sleep test done, and they said I wasn't doing it enough, where I was stopping. But every relationship I was in was like, you were stopped. I was scared. I'm like hitting you, like wake up. And so I think one is weight gain. I was bulking up, I would get bigger. And because even having a lot of muscle, what will happen is you're obstructing your air pathways when you sleep. Alcohol, it's a huge one. Smoking, I didn't smoke, but like at one point I was like dabbling in marijuana, which I don't do at all anymore. And only because that's a personal choice, once again. But that all these things will affect you. And what I did get with this mouthpiece that one of my exes got for me. We were talking about it, and she got it from present for me, and I was using it. The problem with the mouthpiece I found is that you're actually breathing through your mouth, but your butt and my jaw it pulls your jaw forward a little bit. So you put it in, and it has a little clicker, and it did work. It stopped me from snoring. And when you get the proper rest, even if you're breathing through your mouth, I guess with this thing, you'll actually wake up with more energy. That was the biggest problem. I think I felt like always. Even when I wasn't asleep, or even when I didn't get enough sleep, I felt like I was still tired. And I think that's why I honestly want to dive back into that even more. I might get another mouthpiece. The problem is I don't really like breathing out of my mouth like that, because your tongue's hanging. It's very uncomfortable, by the way. It does work, but it's one of those things you got to get used to.
Maybe try that tape, man. Try the tape over your mouth. That worked. I mean, it really changed the way that I breathe. It really worked.
let me tell you a little story. I was a mouth breather, like even like still now, but I practice constantly to close my mouth and breathe through my nose. Even when I run, jog, and exercise, I talk about this. Breathing in. I learned different breathing techniques and I practice it all the time. I think I seen one, there's a white when I get the headpiece where it straps it and hold your head like that. Because if you can hold your neck, your chin up and under, it'll keep your mouth closed so you can breathe out of your nose naturally. But I'll tell you, back to the nose thing, I couldn't breathe out of my nose. I was like always stuffy. But so I forced myself, Rob, to breathe out of my nose. And eventually.
Well, yeah, see, that's the amazing thing, man. This is what people don't know is like, I mean, and it makes sense. The less you use your nose, the more they're going to constrict. Your nostrils are going to constrict, but if you use them all the time, they're going to expand because they're being used all the time. So it's a conscious thing that you have to do, and as you do it, that expansion happens. So that happened for you.
Yeah, when I started breathing out my nose, I got way better looking.
Yeah. Because your mouth wasn't hanging open all the time.
Yeah.
It can reshape your face. Honestly, I mean, this is no joke, though. It can reshape your face. Really.
It does help out because you start keeping your jaw alive. I remember reading that and I was like, wow, it does make sense. Because if you're like this, or you're like this, it's a different look, right? You look
that's why they call them mouth breathers, right? There's a certain look that a mouth breather has. So what got you into just because I love the fact that you do what you do, and I love the idea of Garage Fit. What sparked all of this for you as far as your fitness journey? Why? Because there's always a reason why we get into fitness. What caused it to happen for you?
For me, it was when I was a little kid. I love the Incredible Hulk. I think a lot of young boys, men, whatever, love superheroes.
Yeah.
And mine was the Incredible Hulk. Of course, there was other superheroes too. You had Batman, Superman. Back then, they were the traditional ones. They were the originals, and that's what we grew up with, like Spider-Man, Iceman, Super Friends, all that stuff. And I remember Hulk being my favorite character, and I just wanted to be strong for whatever reason it was. And I think it comes back to like that ancestral thing, right? You as a man, you want to be strong. Somebody's picking on you. You want to be able to handle yourself. It's for me, it was ingrained in me. So that's what I remember. I would watch The Incredible Hulk with my mom. I would run around the house and pretend like I was throwing stuff down. He did that in the show, the TV series, Lou Ferrigno. And over the years, I remember my brother, I was about 13 years old when I started. My brother brought a weight bench home and he was lifting weights and he was getting pretty jacked. My older brother, his name is Jack actually. So Jack was getting jacked. And I remember linking it together because, I'm putting two to two together. I'm like, okay, that's the way to get that look, to get that strength. You lift weights, you're going to see that. So I started lifting. I just started off benching. And that was the only exercise. And then I would do clean and presses and eventually I got into full-on workouts, and it just became like it had me hooked. Mm-hmm. I started buying books on it. I started doing. I can dive deep. I can go a deep rabbit hole, but I'll allow you to ask whatever you have to ask. If you want to hear that story, but it's a long road. It's a long road to where I'm at now. I'll dive into it real quick. So what ended up happening is I got the cycle of being a bodybuilding. I started working out at 16. I got this in the back of the books and muscle magazines. They had routines. They don't have like the internet now where you can just go on and find a program. And there was this thing called the Bulgarian method. And I remember in high school, I was working out and I wanted to get bigger. So the workout routine was 3 times a day, 6 days a week. So I did that for a little bit. And then when I left high school, I decided I wanted to get into powerlifting instead of just bodybuilding. And at the time, I was pretty strong for a small guy, 147, benching 275, squatting over 400 at the time. I dove into powerlifting and I just started drinking a gallon of milk a day. And actually, I didn't even know this, called NOM, 1 gallon of milk a day. And on top of eating whatever, and I bulked up to about 192, then over 200. I entered a bench press competition, 2 of them. Won one of them you got to do it with a pause. It was 370 at the time, but I could probably eventually, I probably could have did over 400 pounds, but I never really tested it. I stopped because of injuries. Right. And I remember friends coming around and they want to work out with me. And that's how I got into personal training. I wanted to get into it. My dad told me we had a little store in Croydon, Pennsylvania. It was a bait and tackle shop right along the water. And he said to me, he's like, Gordon, he's like, that's a waste of time. What are you doing? You're never going to make no money off of that. Well, lo and behold, years later, I am making money off of it because I went into personal training. But like I said, that's a whole other story within itself.
What age would you recommend kids start working out? Like, say, you know, I have a 10-year-old son, and we've worked out a couple of times together, and I'm like, man, I really want him to, like, because I didn't start working out till I was probably 22. And what do you recommend? What age do you recommend?
I recommend any age that you can get them interested in movement. And it doesn't have to be weight training. It just has to be something that's fun for them to do. And that's what you want to do. You want them to have fun. And that's why you have sports, right? You have kids that play sports. And right now you're seeing a lot of the sports that people are afraid of football and people are afraid to do it to their kids. Or one thing, I think you got to stop being afraid, first of all. Yeah. Right. Let's end that noise. But I think movement and training is very, very important for kids. And do it in group settings where the kids then feel like they're part of something, the community. And look at us. We're part of the community, right? Me and you are both part of the CLA. Mm-hmm. So when you're part of the community, you feel you're more motivated to do things because you have other people pushing you and cheering you on. That's good too, instead of just doing it by yourself. Although I was a loner, I'm more introverted than I am extroverted. Although you might think I'm extroverted, there's a new term that throw around. No, but like ambivert, meaning you're a little bit of both. Definitely,
that's me, man. Definitely me.
Yeah, I like my time. I like my time where I could decompress, and I need that. Or else there'll be times like I had to do certain things. There's my daughter. This is my daughter Cheyenne. You want to use my car? Sure. We actually, we're on an interview live on Facebook.
Oh, hi.
Hey, hi, Cheyenne.
So my daughter here just came to me, and now that we're talking about this, and she goes, Dad, never interested in this, never talked about it. What did you say to me about working out?
Oh, I wanted to do a competition.
But were you working out at the time?
No, now she wants to do it.
No,
now
I work out here and there. I'm like that kind of person where like it's not like a struggle kind of like here and there. Like, oh, I'm upset with myself. I just like kind of I'm not that great with scheduling sometimes. So like I'll go in and out of it and the flowing of it. Yeah. But I just like one day I was like, I want to do a competition straight up, like no stopping, go hard, go home, literally, like just try it out. I feel like that's like, I'm that type of person where it's either go hard or go home. And that's why I get really uninterested in things because I'm not going as hard as I should be. And as soon as I do, I get hooked. So I'm like, this might be the right move. And I have to do it in honor of him because like he did bodybuilding and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Cool. So when's it happening? When are you doing it? Yeah. When are you doing it? When's it happening? When's the program start?
So we're starting in December, and it would be like a 6-month trial, pretty much. Prep, yeah. And it would be around in like May.
Yeah. Her birthday's in May 6th. So she's excited about it. She came to me. I didn't push it. I didn't tell her to do this. That's the one thing with your kids when you're talking about when should your kid work out. It's when they want to, right? You just be an example. It's like you're telling your kid not to smoke and you're smoking yourself, right? Mm-hmm. I just kept leading by example. That's the best thing you can do as a parent is to lead by example. Yeah. They'll eventually pick it up. They'll eventually come around. You got to do everything you do in life should be led by example, not by just telling somebody.
And the people you surround yourself with too is huge. Like,
yeah.
You know, it's like if you are like that, like the people around you could like skew that perception in some way because if they're not as motivated or not even just motivated, but like at least healthy, it can make it seem like, well, it's okay for other people to do, so I can do it, please, you know, like
it's all about osmosis. The things you spend your time doing, the people you spend your time with, and the things that they do are going to be the things you naturally gravitate towards. It's just going to kind of happen that way. So you've got to be intentional about that kind of stuff, which is why I love this, Gordon. I mean, this is amazing because she sees you doing it. She knows about it. She knows she has somebody there that could show her how to do it. And these are the kind of things that happen in life. So I love that. Real quick, we got to jump into the sponsor of the show, right? We got to shout out the sponsor for 1 minute though. When we come back, I want to find out, you have your book, Unleashing the Ultimate You. I want to know, how do you define the ultimate you. We're going to talk about that in 1 minute. Are you struggling to make consistent, valuable content for yourself? Do you want to have an efficient and effective way to create content that attracts the people that you want to connect with in life, the people you want to build relationships with in business? Do you want to be the go-to authority at what you do, at what you're great at? Would it be helpful for you if you had a platform that connects you to incredible people in your industry? The kind of platform that gets you leads and lands you clients without you having to beat down anybody's door or blow up anybody's inbox. Whether you're already creating content or you're desiring to start and it's something that's been kind of burning inside of you for a while, I urge you and encourage you to check out the Pro Podcaster Academy. Get started right now. Join the waitlist at robzwentz.com.
Hi, my name is Jose Escobar, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Connected Leaders Academy. We're a growing tribe, a community of entrepreneurs all over the world globally. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to grow personally and professionally, scale your influence, develop your skill sets, move the needle in your business, more clients, more money, more profit, the bottom line, and of course, grow your circle and your network like never before, join the Connected Leaders Academy today. Check me out on Instagram and on Facebook, the @ JAESCO25. We look forward to having you join us. Take care.
So, Gordon, talking about the ultimate you, how do you define that?
The ultimate you is an individual who is reaching for their fullest potential. It's something that's, I'm going to back up. It's not something that's just, like I say, when I say it's not attainable, what I mean by that is you're always reaching for the best version of yourself. The ultimate you is the one who has a growth mindset, who puts in the work that needs to be done. And when things do happen, they do slip up, they jump right back on the horse and they keep going and moving forward.
Because everything in life, especially, I think physical fitness is a great example for everything else in your life, because you have to have the right mindset for it. It's got to be a commitment to something. And I imagine over the years, you've probably had different peaks and valleys that you've been at, but you've always kept on. So talk about like some of the valleys, because I think it's easy to talk about the peaks. What are some of the valleys you've experienced in your fitness journey where you had to reignite that passion?
100%. This is a good subject. This is a good topic. Thank you for asking this question. It's a good question. I ended up injuring myself. I've herniated disc, degenerative disc disease, torn rotator cuffs, injured my knees, ankles, herniated my neck, you name it, burnt myself out. All this thing through trial and error. If I were to go back and do things differently, I would. But at the same time, I wouldn't have the knowledge that I have now to teach others to do it the right way. When I work with somebody, I make sure that they know that they had to push themselves, number one. But at the same time, they have to know when to let up the gas a little bit so they can still see the results down the future. When there is an injury, you don't push yourself through it. If you're that mindset, that warrior mindset, where you're like, I'm just going to push through injuries, which I did, you'll as a young man, I just went all in. I didn't care. And even, this hurts, I got to keep going. And that was dumb, right? And doing things and end up hurting myself. So I remember the 1 year I hurt myself. I just kept working through it. It was year after year working through it. I couldn't even barely stand. And then I became a personal trainer. And I was still doing. I remember taking 8 months off and then coming back. And after I came back, I decided, and I never thought about doing this, even though I loved working out and getting in the weights. I decided to do my first bodybuilding competition ever. And when I did that, it took me about, I think it had been a 4-month prep. And I went and I started working out. And I hadn't worked out for 8 months, by the way. I worked out for 4 months, got on stage, and it was great. It was beautiful. I had my family there, friends, and people were cheering. It's really, I'll tell you what, if you never did something like this before, compete, I highly recommend it. It's really like it fills up your soul. And I got up on stage and I remember just doing my routine and then getting first place in the novice and second place in the open. Open, if you know what that means it's the people who've competed before.
Mm-hmm. Amazing, man. So just talking about like the mental part of, because when your body's broken down, then it feels like everything else is broken down too. When your body's broken down, you don't feel like doing anything because that pain is real and that pain kind of fills in the gaps for everything in your life. Talk about the mental, because you said in the early days, right, you pushed yourself through injuries, but I'm sure you still come up with stuff today, and I'm sure you do things differently now than how you did them back then. How does it look different now than it did, say, 15 years ago?
15 years ago to now is I warm up more. I work with certain movements that aren't going to injure me for myself. That's why everybody's an individual, and they have certain movements that work better for them than they don't. I structure the program real differently now. And I literally sat the other day, I was sitting there, and the girl I'm talking to her, she's almost getting annoyed because I'm like restructuring this program, putting this here, I'm doing that. And I work out for a couple of weeks, and I'm fixing this, I'm doing that. Like, to me, it's like such a science behind it of like how to get the best results in the minimal amount of time. And that's the programs I come up with, is like, how can I save you time, Rob, get you in the gym, get you in and out of the gym, and get the best results you can with as little time as you can, but you can increase it if you want. And I figured out I have programs for 4 days a week, 5 days a week, 3 days a week to get great results. In fact, the last competition I did, what I won, I got second place, and then some, and first in other areas was what I did was I did 3 days a week weight training. That was it. And people were like, "Wow, you're thick looking." I was like, because I know how to mold the workout routines where I'm utilizing it. For example, I'll do opposing muscle groups. So I'll do like a chest and a back in the same day. And then I'll pack that together instead of doing a chest day and the back day. Then I'll give it a day rest. Say, this is one of my favorite routines, by the way. It would be Monday. Then Tuesday would be just legs, because the back, I'm using things that I'm bending over stuff. It needs an extra day off just so it can heal. Then I do a whole routine around that, right? And then I give it one more day off because you're using things that use the upper body too when you're using legs, if you do it right. And then on Friday, I'm doing arms, but Friday I still use compound movements, so it's still hitting some of the chest and some of the back. And when you do that and you structure it that way, you're healing, you're getting all your routine in, you're warmed up enough throughout the whole session instead of having to go back in the gym, re-warm up again every single time, start back up, and then end up getting maybe like stiff and tight and all that, and it's just structured that way. I'm hitting 2 upper body days and then one lower body day, and I've seen great results off of that after years and years of training and doing like hundreds of different routines. It's got to be at least 100 different routines. But I even structured a way where now I can do more days a week. So I started increasing the leg routine twice one week, once another week, and then upper body, like it could be 2 to 3 times a week, and I structured that a certain way too. But once again, going back to, you got to know your body and learning these routines. I'm pretty confident that anybody who uses the routines that I come up with are going to see great results. And at the same time, I'm not saying 100% because nothing's 100% guaranteed, but can avoid injuries as long as they follow protocols and they listen to their own body, because that's part of it, right? When I say, hey, if you feel this, you don't do this anymore, right? And that's how I structure the program now, because I want to get in, out of the gym, and then that way I can run the business or take kids like you do, you're a 3-month-old, or you get more sleep, whatever that might be. Because I'll tell you what, when I was working out 6 days a week, I was getting sick a lot. Yeah. I remember that was one of the things. Yep.
Yeah, man. And you say about getting in and getting out. That's where I used to, back in my 20s, I lifted a lot. I was in the gym 6 days a week. It was a lot. And I enjoyed it, but I also was like, man, this takes up so much of my life. And like you said, starting a business, having a family, like those things take up a lot of time. And there's a lot of other things that I'm super passionate about that I need to get to. So right now, I'm curious your thoughts. I do a lot of Tabata workouts, a lot of HIIT workouts. It's like 20, 25 minutes and I'm done. And I get more in a workout now than I did in an hour and a half back in the day. Now I'm not lifting as much weight, like as heavy of weight, but the reps and everything are much higher. What are your thoughts on Tabata workouts and things like that?
I think they're great workouts. I think they're great if you're not looking to maximize muscle gain, as you can get pretty muscular if you're looking for a good workout and decent muscle. But if you're looking to make that next leap into like the percentages start creeping up, you're going to need to lift a little heavier, because that's how your body has to adapt. I think they're great cardiovascular. So there's studies showing that the total of 3 hours a week with weight training and resistance training and zone 2 cardio, then tap into some zone 3. That means breathing, right? 3 hours total a week is lower your all-cause mortality by 50%. If you were to say, here's a study, like if we're the same age and one person works out and the other person doesn't, the person who works out has a lower cause mortality by 50% compared to the guy who doesn't work out, or the female who doesn't work out, either or. So if working out and building muscle is one of the most important things you can do for your body, like one of the most important things you do for your brain. It actually, there are so many studies now that the Alzheimer's and dementia are considered in other countries. They don't talk about it here. Type 3 diabetes, and and people who work out can potentially avoid getting Alzheimer's and weight under control too, because calories do have to be equated too. That's a whole thing too. Dieting and exercise. You got to think about the things you're eating too. You can't just eat like crap. Not that this, I'll tell you a quick story. I remember this. I worked for Bally Total Fitness for 10 years. And I remember there was one guy working out. And you could tell he just would sit around on a machine, work out. And this is genetic too, by the way. I'm not saying this is what happened. This is the reason it happened. But he didn't look the part, right? He just kind of looked like, and he just had a massive heart attack right on the floor. And he was, I think, in his 50s. Now, genetics can play a huge role in that. And it doesn't mean that's why it was because of his diet. But I would say if you're not eating right and you're not exercising properly, you're not getting the most out of it. If you're sitting on a machine for 5 minutes staring at your phone, especially in today's world, that's what half these kids are doing. Staring at the phone, looking at this, looking at that. You're not getting you're going to get the most out of your workouts. Nothing wrong with rest between sets, but there's something wrong when you're just sitting there just staring at your phone the whole time. That actually is a pet peeve of mine.
Oh yeah, man. It'll drive you. Well, I used to look at it like I'd have friends, man. We would go to the gym and it would be like deadlift day, and deadlift day was like 2 hours of like 5 sets of deadlifts. And I'm like, what are we doing here?
No,
I need to move. I want to.
No.
It drives me crazy. But another thing I was curious about with all of this too, because you've built 2 awesome businesses, if not more, out of what you're doing in fitness. Because there's so many personal trainers out there and so many people who love fitness, who want to build a business out of the fitness, but that's really the hardest part, is how do you parlay that into an actual career? And when did you decide, I want to make this something I make money off of? And when did it really start to take off? What shifted that helped it to really take off?
What shifted it was LA Fitness bought Bally Total Fitness. When that happened, it was on the day. I remember getting the information on a plane ride home from Jamaica for my sister's wedding. And I was there for the whole week. I had a great time. I'm flying in, and all of a sudden I see ding, ding, ding. Because what the phones, like they turn on when you land, and all of a sudden you see all the things. And that back then, it had a little flip, and you hit the buttons. So I remember sitting there thinking, like, oh my God, they did it. I heard there was they were kind of like hinting at it, and my pay went from $40 per session. Now I still got all my own clients and all that, and you got a percentage. So the sessions were like $100, $89 to $100, and you would get 40% of that. So you get like $40 plus commission if I sold enough, and it went from that to making like $6 a half hour. And I was under contract to buy a house. Of course, I had my daughter I was raising too, co-parenting with her, but she was like, I had all this on my plate, and I'm like, I bought this house, and now I'm under contract for it. I was like, I want to give this a year and see where it goes, and maybe I'll start my own business. Well, fate will have it. How it happened was LA Fitness laid me off, and they wanted a different certification. They were getting rid of everybody, right? They fire people. I have a friend of mine who it happened to, and he started his own business too. A couple of people, and that was a day I decided to open Garage Fitness. So they did me a huge favor. They pushed me out the door, and then that was that fire I needed under my ass, excuse my language, to get me started on the Garage Fitness. And then I built up my clientele from there. And then from there, 13 years later, I have Garage Fitness. What I did is I remodeled my whole garage in a fully usable gym for one-on-one training and small group training, and structured a program. And I structured it in a way where the payment plans are, if I'm talking to trainers right now out there, a lot of people don't know how to do this because they make these small little contracts and then somebody's out the door. But you got to structure it in a way where, first of all, you got to be real and authentic, true and authentic. You tell people, hey, look, you want to see results. It's going to take at least a year, right? It takes more actually, but you get them to buy in and understand that, because when you're talking to somebody, they got to see the potential in themselves, and they got to see why it's worth it, right? And for the trainers out there, you want to get somebody into these longer contracts, because if they're in the shorter ones, or like 2 months, what are they getting ready for anyway? So my whole idea was living longer, helping people sustain a workout, and meaning throughout their whole life, instead of just doing something for a couple months. I'm proof. I'm the concept proof. I do it myself. I'm 49 years old, going to 50 this year. I've been doing this my whole life. How do you stay like that? What do you do? I teach people how to shift their mindset. I teach people how the proper routines, and I make it fun for them. And if you do that, the trainers out there, and you can restructure your whole business model around that, you're going to see a successful business. I actually became a business consultant for a little bit, and I'm doing that now again, and really helping people with their gyms, almost like Alex Hormozi does. What he does it at a whole other level. But the thing is, I take new trainers who are not like, they're kind of lost. They want to start a business, or they want to get out of corporate and they can't stand it anymore. I help them level up and start getting clientele and get the booked. I have one guy started his business and he's doing amazing. He does athletes, young kids, and he's just booked solid now.
I love that, man. This is in coaching also. Having a commitment of at least 6 months, but preferring people commit for a year, because you can't see real change in 1 month, 3 months. You might start to see the inklings of change in 6 months. In a year, you're going to start to see transformation happen.
That's what it is.
You need to be with somebody for that commitment.
Well, Rob, you hit it on the head. It's transformation, because you got to work with somebody for a long time. You can't build habits. They actually showed study where it takes at least 6 months to really get the habit to stick. You hear 30 days, you hear 90 days. Really, there is no particular timeline, but it's really like the 6 month mark where really this molds into, and it restructures the way your brain is firing wiring from one to the other to build that habit.
Yeah, man, that's what it is. And I think it's what's cool is, what I love about fitness is that, like I said earlier, it is the thing that you can use as an example for how time plus effort creates great things in your life, right? Because you can other things, it's hard to like physically see it happening. I guess with a business, you can see the money coming in, but when you see your body changing, man, that changes everything. When you can see yourself physically changing, that's a huge sign of like, wow, I put in the work and the work actually does something.
Yeah, I'm working with a lot of people that are in finance now, people who don't have the time, people that are entrepreneurs I was working with one guy. He literally said to me, he's like, Gordon, I literally have this much time in my life now. He's like, I'm right about and I'm not going to mention a name, but he's a multimillionaire. And he's like, I want to run my freaking car off the road right now. And he's like, but exercise is the one thing that's keeping the glue. And I helped him build a program out that's quick, and he loved it. He loved the way I structured the program. So I worked with him online, coaching with him, and a couple other people, and the people in person that are entrepreneurs. And I tell you what, entrepreneurs, man, they need it more than anybody, because they need to run efficiently. And my friend, I have another friend who has the BLN, JR, and I know Jose also Escobar with CLA. They both work out. They both talk about they're not going to listen to somebody who doesn't take care of themselves. Like, why would you listen to somebody? How you going to get a guy, a motivational speaker, get up there and this is my thought process. You can say I'm wrong, whatever. I don't care. If you're out of shape, you're telling me that this is the best life to live, and then you're not, and you're going to the buffet line and you're overweight, you barely can, and it just shows how the rest of your life is structured if you're not taking care of your body.
Yeah, man. It really does. I mean, it's like going to a doctor who's out of shape. It's just like those things don't compute. And and like you said, there's no way to run efficiently when your body is out of whack like that. So I'm with you 100%. Listen, I'd love to continue this. We're out of time. This has been an awesome conversation. I've loved this, dude. I want people to connect with you. So if you're watching right now, you can see on the screen, connect with Gordon. Go to his link tree, Gordon B Fit. If you're listening, that's Linktree. It's Gordon, the letter B, and then Fit, F-I-T. Make sure you check him out and all the things that he's doing. And also, like I said at the beginning, if you want to be the authority in your space, check out the Pro Podcaster Academy at robzwentz.com. Gordon, this has been awesome, dude. I'm glad we got a chance to sit down and talk and chat, and I got to learn more about you. Is there anything that you want to leave the audience with before we sign off that we haven't talked about?
The biggest thing is to get started and just keep going, keep moving forward. That's one of the most important things. You just gotta stay consistent, even on the days where you don't want to do it. Take the emotion, remove the emotion from what you're doing in life. Stop attaching emotion to it. And yes, emotion's there. We need to tap into that, but just start doing the things that you need to do. I know it's a very Nike thing to say, right? Just do it. But it really is. You got to do it, and you got to make it consistent. Schedule it out. Put it in your schedule. Make sure you schedule it. Tell people if you have to tell people. Mm-hmm. And when you do that, you start creating momentum. Don't be afraid of failure. Failure is part of momentum and success. Fail, get up again and do it. Just like working out. You do a couple reps, you might not be able to get the next rep. Put it down, start over again. Keep doing that over and over again, and eventually you'll reach goals that you thought you would never get to.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, like you said earlier too, make it fun and don't make it complicated. Those are the best things for me. Those are the things that work the best. Don't overthink it and just have fun doing it and find a way to have fun doing it. So that's great advice. This has been an awesome episode of the Unstuck Movement, true testimonies of breakthrough. We'll catch you guys next time. See you.